Hi, everyone. I hope people are joining right now. Welcome to today's webinar, Early Adoption in Action, Scentbird's Journey to PCI DSS Compliance. So this webinar today is in the form of a case study with Jscrambler's client, Scentbird. We will talk about how Scentbird took proactive approach towards securing their payment pages and ensuring compliance with the anti-skimming requirements 643 and 1161 within PCI DSS version 4. We hope that this webinar will be useful to companies that are currently looking to accelerate compliance with PCI DSS, or maybe looking to switch from another solution like CSP-SRI, for example. But for whatever reason you are here, welcome and thank you for joining us today. So let me introduce the speakers. I am Katia and I'm a product marketing manager at Jscrambler, and I'm hosting this webinar today. Andrei Rebrov is CTO and co-founder at Scentbird, Jscrambler's client. Just a little bit about the housekeeping rules and the format for today. This webinar will take approximately 60 minutes. You can use the chat to ask questions and leave comments. You can also use the questions tab specifically to ask a question for us. The format of the webinar is an interactive discussion between the host, me, and the speaker, Andrei. We will have a poll throughout our discussion, so be ready to participate. We'll also have a Q&A at the end of the session. And after the webinar, you'll get a recording of this webinar and some additional resources on the topic from us as well. So here's our agenda for today. We will start with a short intro to Jscrambler and Scentbird. We will discuss unique industry challenges for Scentbird, and then delve into Scentbird's PCI DSS compliance journey and how it all began, which includes, of course, primary criteria when researching vendors. And then towards the end of the webinar, we'll talk a little bit about why Scentbird selected Jscrambler, what were the ROI and outcomes, and Scentbird's advice and the importance of client-side protection. And we'll conclude with a Q&A, of course. So I'd like to briefly introduce Jscrambler. The company was founded in 2010. So we've been doing client-side protection for over 14 years. We are a principal participating organization with the PCI Council, and we also have our CTO on the board of advisors. But more importantly, outside of just our involvement with PCI, Jscrambler was the first to introduce a comprehensive client-side protection and compliance platform to cover both first-party JavaScript and third-party script monitoring and protection. And the latter, our web page integrity product, has been in the market for 5 years already, and the anti-skimming capabilities of web page integrity were developed long before the PCI DSS version 4. And finally, Jscrambler achieved its compliance with PCI DSS in 2023. So we are not just a compliant solution, but a compliant organization. And I will introduce our speaker, Andrei, as well. Andrei has worked in the technology field for more than 15 years. As a CTO and co-founder at Scentbird, he has helped Scentbird grow to more than 700,000 active subscribers. At Scentbird, Andrei was responsible for building early versions of the platform, growing a remote engineering team, and making sure that the company had technology advantages in every department from marketing to operations. He is also a startup advisor in various industries, from aerospace to video games, and the author of Beyond the Box. Prior to Scentbird, Andrei worked as an agile engineering coach, as a software engineer for UBS Investment Bank and Avis UK. So now I'll let Andrei introduce Scentbird as a company and talk a bit more about how Scentbird was founded. Andrei.
Hello, Katia, and thank you for having me today. So, as it was already mentioned, Scentbird is a subscription service for perfumes, colognes, and other nicely scented things, such as candles and car fresheners. We started the company back in 2013, but we started our official birthdays in 2014 when we established ourselves as an organization and as a subscription business. And I would say a key decision that we made early was we wanted to be pretty unique in what we do and how we do it. So we decided to do an in-house development of our e-commerce and our subscription platform. And when you do this, you have to take care about a lot of things, including security, including compliance, and so on and so forth. And we'll talk about it later more. But through all these years, we've been developing our platform. And again, as it was already mentioned, we now have more than 700,000 active subscribers. We work with multiple payment providers, and one of the things that is being asked one of the asks that payment providers have for us is to be compliant. So every year we have to go through the PCI DSS Compliance self-assessment. We have to show that we do everything in the right way. And aside from that, what is very important for us when we serve such a big audience is to ensure that people feel safe on our website, that they can trust us with their data. They can safely leave their credit card information on our website, because if people will think that something is wrong, that if they will feel unsafe, there will be no conversion. If there's no conversion, there is no revenue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just wanted to ask some more additional questions about the business. So what are your main markets apart from the US, obviously?
So US is where we started. Scentbird is also available in Canada, and hopefully we'll launch our business in United Kingdom in March of 2025, and more countries to come. So we have big plans for Europe. We have big plans for Mexico, for South America, and we plan to go beyond. The only thing that slows us down is the nature of our product. If you don't know, fragrance is considered to be what's called a hazardous material product, meaning if you
transport it.
When you transport it, when you work with it, it's either oil or alcohol, so it's an easily flammable liquid. So you have to be very careful. You should only transport it by ground, or if you want to transport it by air, you have to take a lot of cautionary measures. So that's what slows our growth. Maybe aside of all kind of regulations that exist in various countries, and that this regulation in many cases are different one from another. So that's another challenge that we tackle.
That's very interesting. Yeah, for me, this subscription concept for perfume, for fragrances is very interesting and kind of new. So I'm a bit curious whether you have a lot of competitors right now, or whether it's still a very new trend in the perfume world. Because for me, I'm not used to that. So I think it would be great if you shared with the audience.
Sure. So we started our business when subscription box concept started to be a hot thing. So it was a time of Dollar Shave Club, a famous shaving company in the United States, and Ipsy, Birchbox, and other similar beauty concepts started to grow very fast again in the United States, and then they took over of other markets as well. When we started, and the whole idea behind Scentbird was how to make it easier for people to buy perfume online, because traditional perfume purchase is when you go to the store, you try something there, you sniff coffee beans in between different fragrances, but actually that's the myth, that it won't help that much, as store supervisors will tell you. So we thought, okay, how we can make it easier for people to discover new fragrances, to buy something new, but still don't overpay, don't deal with returns. And this is how we came up with the idea of repackaging. The idea of a smaller volume was not that new. Certain brands like Hermes or Chanel actually have what they call a travel case, travel size, 8 milliliters or 10 milliliters perfume bottle in a nice case. And we took this idea further, and we started to do perfume repackaging for other brands. And that quickly took over, and that's what allowed us to get to the point when we have, actually at this point, almost 800,000 active subscribers. So people like to try new fragrances. They try to discover something completely new for them. And in many cases, it's also a great opportunity for fragrance brands themselves, because if you stick to retail, unless you're a part of the big enterprise conglomerate like LVMH or L'Oreal, it will be hard for you as a niche brand to scale, to grow, to get beyond, New York City or San Francisco or London, Paris, and Milan. So we give this brands opportunity to get in front of people who will like this fragrance, because we also do recommendations and personalization to tell that story, because we partner with perfumistas, so they can share their story on our social media. And because people like the concept, we started to see more and more competitors. I believe at this point we have about 45 competitors around the globe. We have competitors like people who do similar stuff in Europe, in Africa, in South America, and the list goes on.
Very interesting, very insightful. Thank you so much for sharing more about Scentbird and your model, and the market. So now I'd like to ask more about the industry challenges. So what are some of Scentbird's unique industry challenges in your opinion?
It's a good question. So as I mentioned before, we do a lot of in-house development, and that dictates that we also have to be compliant, and we have to ensure that we are compliant, and we shouldn't put it on the shoulder of our partners, because if you're on Shopify, for example, they will take care of a lot of things. In our case, there are two things that are very critical. One is around privacy. So there is a GDPR, there is a California CCPA, there are more regulations coming up in various other states. So we have to track all of them. We have to ensure that we are compliant, that no one can go after us and things like that. Similar to payments, a lot of regulation, but I would say what I like about PCI DSS, it's very descriptive what you should do and how you should do this, and comparing to GDPR or CRPA, for example. But on the other hand, I would say, yes, it is kind of boring to read all these requirements, but they exist for the reason. They exist for the reason to protect the customers. So I know people, we see all these articles about data leaks all the time, and we unfortunately had a similar situation back in 2020, and we know how damaging it is. We know how easy it is to lose trust of your customers, so we take these things very carefully. But on the other side, the whole idea of Scentbird is to give you recommendations and personalizations. So we should and we have to collect a lot of information about the customer, about their behavior, what they do on our website, how they interact with our products, how they interact with our marketing messages. And we also have to share this information with marketing platforms such as Facebook or Instagram or Google, because that's what fueling their algorithms for personalization, for audience building. So it is a very hard achieving balance between what you collect and how you treat it, and how you don't overstep what you do, because sometimes there are situations when certain predatory legal companies will go for you and will say that you are in violation with some regulation. For example, in the recent case in California, there is trap and trace law that was originally created to protect California residents from being from certain intelligence agency to listen to the phone conversation, but some lawyers are now claiming that the marketing pixels also should be compliant, while other lawyers fight them. So that creates a lot of extra work, and it's not the fun part of our business. It's not as fun as build recommendation engines. It's not as fun as create something new on the website, but we have to do this because, again, at the end of the day, it's all about protecting the customer data and protecting our reputation in front of the customer eyes.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of third-party vendors like Facebook, Instagram,
TikTok, to name the one that actually have a lot of scrutiny by themselves in the United States right now. So we have to make sure that when people read something in the news and they come to our customer support, they will have a proper response to them as well.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if you know the exact number of third-party vendors on your website, or can you maybe summarize and just talk about the main groups of third-party vendors that you have for personalization?
So that's actually an interesting question, and I'll tell you why. So basically, there are scripts that provide functionality to the website, the scripts that we create ourselves, scripts for payments, scripts for, track information for your shipments and so forth. So that's the first bucket. The second bucket is all kind of analytics. It could be product analytics, such as Mixpanel. It could be marketing analytics, such as Google Analytics. It could be something like heat maps, like Hotjar, and so on and so forth. And the third one is for marketing purposes. We already named them Meta, TikTok, Google, X, and so on and so forth. And then there is the fourth one that actually somewhere in between, because like I mentioned, personalization. Is personalization analytics, or is personalization a key part of your functionality? So again, this is something that we have to define very clear and explain to our customers why we are collecting certain data. And the truth is that when you tell people that we are collecting this information about you to give you better recommendation, they respect that and they'll tell you this information. So you just need to be very transparent in what you do and why you do this.
Yeah.
In regards to the question, how many do we have? I believe what makes it interesting when we, for example, who add scripts to our website? This is the engineering team who create functionality, and this is the marketing team. But you might add just one script. It's like one line of JavaScript, HTML tag. What will happen after that is it will start loading all kind of dependencies, and you never know what could happen. So, for example, we sometimes see 5 versions of React library, like multiple versions of jQuery, and sometimes they got in the conflict. So we also have to monitor this. So what starts as a list of, I believe, around 60 different scripts and pixels and certain interactions with a third party might be the list of 100, more than 100 of additional scripts that you can see on the page. And what makes it more complicated that there is a versioning issue. So people will update the dependencies, and then when you start looking, okay, what kind of scripts our customers downloaded in the past 30 days, you will see a huge list of one script that changed version every other day. It's like a minor change, but it's very annoying. It is really hard to keep track on all this stuff and understand what it is related to.
Yeah, and I think our product helps exactly with that. Yes. It shows you the inventory, it shows you the main vendors that you have. but also it doesn't really alert you. At least our purpose is not to alert you about the tiny changes, because yes, those scripts, they change every day, very frequently. It's really hard to keep track of them, and really like pay attention to the ones that are really significant changes. So that's very interesting. Let's move on and talk about how your compliance journey began. So my question would be, what was your situation with your customer data, with your script visibility, with your script management before you thought of, looking for a PCI DSS compliance solution?
Sure. So first, the first thing that existed with us, it was a Google Tag Manager where we added the scripts, and there was no real process of monitoring these things, removing old unnecessary scripts, reviewing that the scripts added in the correct way, that it doesn't affect any performance on any web page. That was with the wild west of adding scripts on the website. So then at some point we started to introduce certain review process that whoever adds a new script, it should go through the review and people should approve what's being added, and people should remind other people about reviewing the inventory, making sure that we only have what is needed right now. So that was the step number one. Step number two was happened when we introduced additional partners who help us to at least understand what's going on the website. So again, it was not the primary goal to control the inventory of scripts at this point. It was, hey, we have this tool that helps us with the security, and they have this additional feature. Let's just enable these features, see how they will work and what they can do. What they can do for us, and if they can be very helpful. So that was step number two. Then again, we started more regulations. We became a bigger organization, and when you become bigger, you have much more eyes on you. People might start asking questions, and there also was a moment of new regulations. So we introduced the cookie consent management thing on our website, and we actually started for the first time to control what's going on the website. But it was very straightforward, and we'll talk about it. And we didn't have a focus on payment page specifically. And this is where at some point PCI DSS compliance became an important thing, because at some point, even if you don't store the payment data itself, like credit card number information or something like that, if you reach over a certain threshold of transactions, you are being required to do self-assessment of different levels by your payment providers. And you have to be compliant, you have to do these things. And we realized that with the upcoming change in PCI DSS 4, we need a proper way to be compliant with this specific requirement. And again, that's what I like about PCI DSS. It's very descriptive of what you should do. So we started to look, okay, with our process, with multiple people adding scripts, with every change in inventory of the scripts on the website, how we can ensure that we can properly manage the inventory, but the most importantly, how do we know what's going on with the customer data? Because traditional cookie consent management platforms, they don't track who interacts with which forms, what are the changes inside the scripts, what kind of data being transmitted outside. And that started to become a very important thing to control and to monitor.
And yeah, you mentioned other people and other teams adding JavaScript. Is that in your case, is that mostly marketing and engineering, or other teams?
Marketing, engineering, data analytics, because they might test different tools. For example, with the rise of AI and predictive things, they started to, hey, let's add certain scripts here, let's feed them data, let them collect information about customers. So I would say these are three teams who actively add or remove something from the website.
Got it. Yeah, and so before using Jscrambler, how are you managing the web scheming and data leakage risks? You mentioned the cookie concept, consent tools, but yeah, you can expand a little bit more about that here.
So yes, there are a lot of services outside who give you this functionality of cookie consent management. So they are very straightforward. You add their script on your website. They look at all the scripts that exist on your website. They assign a certain label to them. Is it the analytical tool? Is it the marketing? Is it something that is important for your website functionality? And then they can let you control what's going on. In some cases, they don't even function properly, because ideally you first should load the cookie consent management, and only after people give you consent to track the information, only after that you should download the rest of the scripts. A lot of these tools, they don't support that. They only they only control what's happened after the script was loaded, and it's not enough. That's one issue. Second issue, they are not focused specifically on the payment page. They are not focused on controlling what's going on with the customer data and form interaction, and what kind of data being submitted where. And I would say another thing that PCI DSS requires is to ensure that you have, like, with your inventory, you actually have some kind of audit, you have some kind of track record where you explain why you have certain scripts on your payment page. You track who added them, when, what were the changes, and you have the whole history. And most of these tools, they're saying, hey, you kind of can do this with us. The only thing that you need to do, like on the side, do this audit data, but we will do the rest. And the biggest question for me here is, like, why, like, if you promise to take care of this compliance, but you still require us to do something extra, that's not how we want to interact. Because if there is a new addition to PCI DSS, like, we'll have to track it ourselves, we'll have to be compliant ourselves, and that won't be your primary goal, your primary focus. So that's what inspired us to go outside and look for something else.
And it seems like, yeah, you started educating yourself on PCI DSS quite early, right?
Yeah, that's right. I believe when the first news happened, we started to look into it a lot. And what's helpful was, since I'm a part of the subscription community, people started to talk, subscription and e-commerce community, people start actively talk about it. Like, there are a couple of good law companies who always highlight these changes and what does it mean for subscription and for e-commerce businesses. So we quickly became educated on the topic. We quickly understood what it will require from us as a company to do with that. The only question was what kind of tool will help us to do this.
And how many domains, how many payment pages did you look to protect?
So in our case, it is very simple. The way, like, it's one front store, Scentbird.com, and even with our internationalization plans, we will maintain one payment page where people can either subscribe or buy something a la carte. So it is in our case, it is quite simple because we don't have many pages to protect, but still. I would say the problem here is not the scale itself. Like, if you have, you still need, no matter how many pages you need to protect, one payment page or 10 payment page, you still need something functioning properly for you, so you can do it the right way.
And I'm just wondering, I'm curious, have you thought of limiting access to the payment form to only your payment service provider or providers?
That's another part that's bothered us for a long time, because initially it was our own payment page. So we were collecting this data ourselves and then submitting them to the payment provider. Then at some point we switched to what's, I believe, called hosted payment form. So when all the individual inputs are like small iframes controlled by our subscription billing partner. So this is it. This is what's make my life easier, and I can sleep better at night knowing that it's like these guys, they're expert in security. They invest a lot in protecting this thing, but it is always an arm race in regards to between people who protect data and between hackers. So we always look for other ways, like other ways how we can protect payment data, because I personally had to reissue my debit card and credit card multiple times because some site leaked the data. So I don't want to the same happen to us, because yes, it's good to rely on your subscription partner, on your billing partner, but if there is another layer that you can add easily to protect data, that would be great.
Yeah, and just to let you know, I don't think you're using form fencing now, but we have this feature that's called form fencing. And I think you're good right now with the configuration that you have, but I think it makes even more sense for bigger organizations with like 30, 40 domains to use form fencing, because it's like what it does, it works as an extra layer that can shield your forms from schemers even before you authorize scripts. So you can allow, for example, your PSP and maybe one or two other scripts to access the form data, and then the rest by default would not have access to forms. So all the other, third-party scripts and vendors, they will still be on the page, and the functionality of the page won't be affected, but they will be blocked from accessing payment form data. And so that's something that's available to all PCI DSS customers of ours. You can test form fencing feature anytime you want. But yeah, I think it's very convenient for those who have really a lot of domains, because then they can just identify the payment service provider, allow them, give them access, and then they don't have to worry about the rest. Because, you mentioned marketing, engineering, data analytics, adding scripts, but for other companies, sometimes it's a lot more teams. It's 10, 11 teams, and they have teams in different countries, in different offices. So it becomes really very tedious work to identify. So that's just something I wanted to mention. But yeah, we can move on. So now we're delving a bit into the decision-making process. So when you were researching, did you consider other solutions?
Yes. So a lot of solutions who offer this, they were these cookie consent managers. So that was one category. Another category was like these big enterprise platforms that cost a lot of money, that will help you to do through rigorous integration process that will take a lot of time. But I'm personally a big fan of composability. This is how we build our own website. So we rely on specific partners to do a specific job, but to be the best in what they do. So I realized, at some point, I started to look for guys who specifically address PCI DSS new version, who can help with that specifically. And this is how I stumbled upon Jscrambler.
Yeah, you did mention Cloudflare as your CDN before, but yeah, I think Cloudflare would be the one who has 60, 70 products in their portfolio, and they might offer PCI DSS. But yeah, to your point, I think if you go for a massive product like that, it's all about vendor consolidation, but not everyone is
correct.
Is looking for vendor consolidation because sometimes the quality of the products may vary, because obviously those big companies, they have major products that they already invested decades into, and then the smaller ones may not be the best in the market.
Correct.
And you also mentioned, cookie consent management services. Just quickly, briefly, that's something new. I've never heard of them offering PCI DSS solutions. I wonder when that was, that when you researched and you found out that they claim that they have a solution.
I would say this is what was adopted by the sales team when the news about PCI DSS broke the internet and people started to talk about it, that, hey, merchant now have to do something else. And the sales team realized, hey, we can now sell our product under different source, and we have additional leverage to sell it, which is like when you start asking them about, hey guys, how exactly your service will help me to protect this? Do you have this functionality? They're saying it's kind of, but kind of is not enough, because we want to be sure if there is a legal case and some point it might happen, we follow the regulation to the dot.
Mm-hmm. And what were your main buying criteria?
I would say a couple of things. First, it should do what it says it does, because again, PCI DSS is very descriptive. That's one. Second, I didn't want to spend a lot of time on the integration. I didn't want to spend a lot of time on having someone on my team to manage this thing. So I was looking for something that I can implement once and make sure that it's like we are protected. And if there will be something new happening, the team of the service will reach out to me and notify me about new changes, about things that I need to do, so we can focus on what we do the best, which is selling fragrances.
So we actually asked our audience a question about their top buying criteria, and it would be interesting to hear from them. Let's see. So basically, we had the following answer options: advanced security and control, compliance with minimum effort, kind of something that we had here on the slide. You mentioned, minimal efforts. You didn't want to involve a lot of people from your team. Then we had cost and affordability and ease of use. So basically, most people, 45%, chose advanced security and control as the top buying criteria. And then second comes compliance with minimum effort. Actually, it's a parity. Second place is split between compliance with minimum effort and cost and affordability. And then the last one is ease of use. So I think that's very interesting that people do care about advanced security and control. And I think you'll talk about customer trust as well. You spoke about it already, but I will ask you, how has the Jscrambler PCI DSS solution supported the core objectives of your business?
I would say it was very, very clear what we needed to do. And so I had a list of questions that I was going to ask Jscrambler team. Hey guys, like we have this request from our payment provider. We need to do this, this, and that. Please show me how I can achieve it with your platform. And that's what we saw. So they explain how the integration will work. They explain how I can do the audit, how I will see the list of the inventory, how I'll get notification about certain changes, how I should react. And this is it. So like this is what I like in partners, and when they have a very clear protocol for me what I need to do. And I have no additional questions, and I have no doubt how to use it properly.
So as of now, you are PCI DSS compliant, correct?
Correct.
You
Yes.
are. Perfect. Yeah. And then, you mentioned customer trust several times.
So this this is something that our customers don't see. They don't see all the efforts that go into the protection, how like all the they don't see our security budget. They don't see like all the efforts that we do in research, all the efforts we do in order to protect the data, like how we educate ourselves constantly, how we do all the security scans and so on and so forth. Like customers, because at this point, this is the expectation. It's not even a nice to have thing for consumers. Consumers expect you to treat their data very carefully. They expect you to be compliant. They expect you to notify them if something goes wrong. And again, customer trust is something that takes a lot of time to earn, especially because in our one of the most common questions that we've been getting when we started the business was, do we really sell a real fragrance, or is it knockoff? Is it a dupe? So for us, trust is a big question. It's always been a priority, and this is another aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. And I think that buyers have become more aware of the appearance of payment pages, of shopping carts, and it seems to me people are more careful. But I'm curious, have you noticed whether there is, for example, more hesitancy with first-time buyers who don't know your brand yet? Do they take more time to learn about your brand? Because I feel my personal feeling is that people are more careful about e-commerce websites and take their time to, before the first purchase. But I'm just curious if you have any data, you have any opinion about this.
I don't have any particular data points, but from customer reviews and from what's going on with online payments, I can tell you this. A lot of people say that if they see PayPal, they will use PayPal because they won't expose their credit card information. If they see Apple Pay, again, they'll trust Apple Pay more than to generic payment form because Apple for them is a big almost a household name. Similar to all these new solutions such as links and the forms provided by Stripe or ShopPay, when people see something on multiple websites, they rather use this. They won't share, they like not to share their data with a merchant. And I would say one of the biggest examples here, there was a company called X1. I believe it's a UK company that was recently acquired by Revolut, and one of their feature was an opportunity to issue a virtual card that people can use specifically for one merchant and one merchant only. So that tells you a lot, how much people want to share their credit card or debit card information online or not.
Yeah, I think that's a great example. And moving forward, I think security indicators on the payment page will maybe play a bigger role because as consumers, yes, you're right. As consumers, we have no idea what's happening in the background. We don't know what data third-party tags, third-party scripts are collecting, and I think especially now with the rise of AI, and we know AI thrives on data. We really don't know what's happening. So I think it's important that companies like yours speak more about the importance of compliance and data security and protecting customer data. So moving on. So a very easy question. So why did you choose Jscrambler?
For me, it was, again, as a big fan of composability, it was a delivery of what I wanted to be achieved. That's one. Second, it was a very quick implementation because it was not. We've been working close with the team at Jscrambler site, and we got very good guidance what we need to do. So it was easy to set up. It was easy to fine tune it when it's needed to tuning, and that was it. Then we let it run. We collected enough information. Obviously, with tools like that, you first run in full permission mode. You just monitor your inventory. You understand what kind of scripts you have. You let people go browse your website, And once you have enough information, once you have your internal teams understand what's going on, then you enable the restrictive mode and you let it run. And then you get notification when there are certain changes that you need to review, when they have new inventory or something like that. But we have, 2 or 3 such notifications a month, and it's easy to handle. And one of the most important part here, and something that I value a lot in vendors who actually become partners, is the team. So if you had a question, the question being answered really fast. If there is an upcoming release, we get notification several weeks before that, and we can prepare ourselves, we can monitor that. So having a great support, I would say, is critically important, especially if you're talking about security and compliance.
Yeah, and I think quick implementation and easiness of use are one of the biggest factors right now for buyers. And yeah, like you said, people don't want to allocate additional resources to this, no matter how strongly they want to comply and be secure. So that is definitely something people are looking at. And I just wanted to briefly mention that at Jscrambler, we now have a hybrid architecture, hybrid deployment. So this might be more relevant for bigger organizations with slower processes around the implementation, because you did it very quickly. And when you were researching, you were also kind of ready and educated. But for other organizations, it may be a more difficult process. So what hybrid architecture means is that you can start with an agentless deployment by just sharing the relevant URLs with us, and then bring 20, 30, 40 pages into compliance very quickly and very easily, and then configure the agent later. For you, yeah, you mentioned that the agent setup was very quick, and you knew exactly what to do, and you only had one payment page, your main payment page, that you wanted to protect. But that's just something to keep in mind for those who are listening to us, that now you can basically choose and start with an agentless and then continue with the agent. Or be very proactive, like Andrei's company Scentbird, and start with the agent directly. So yeah, we're moving towards the end of the webinar, and I would like to ask you a little bit about metrics, ROI, what kind of success has our product driven?
I would say this metric is very binary. You either compliant or you're not. That's one thing. But in general, I feel myself much better knowing what's going on the payment page, because again, we see this news about some JavaScript being hacked by the malicious agent on a regular basis. And I believe one of the biggest news in that area was around Ticketmaster, that the customer support system that they used, their JavaScript had some security issues, and because of that, some hacker team was able to access customer data, and that's obviously not good. So for us, once we implemented this tool, we become I believe we became much safer place for our customers.
Yeah, and you had a joke here that, in other words, yeah, you acquired a peace of mind, and that includes not being sued.
Correct. Yes, this is not what I want to spend my time on, doing on litigations, on paying legal team, and just dealing with this stuff. I want to build the best website for fragrance lovers.
Yeah. And what would your advice be to anyone who's looking into buying a PCI DSS product right now?
I would say first educate yourself on what it is, because again, PCI DSS compliant is, I wouldn't call it a very easy thing to read, but this is is something you can understand without no issues. It's written in a descriptive language. So there are a lot of companies like legal companies who help you with understanding of that compliance in regards to your specific industry. So that's one. So first education. Then once you understand what you need to do, you need to understand the gap between what you have right now and what you need to do. So once you have a list of requirements, then you go and find, unless your existing tool actually does it for you, then you go out and look for a product that can help you with that thing. And then it's like in some cases it could be up to your RFQ process, but I would say ensuring that the tool does what it promises, ensure that you cover all your needs with one tool, ensuring that it is within your budget, ensuring that you like the team. That are the main criteria that you need to keep in mind when you make a choice.
Yeah, you mentioned before as well not to go for a massive platform. So I think, the companies that don't specialize in PCI DSS usually don't have PCI DSS top of mind.
Yes, and I see the question. Sorry to interrupt on that. Like on that note, I actually see the question around between like why we, like what's the difference for us between Cloudflare and like why we decided to go with Jscrambler. While Cloudflare is a great data, like not the, like it's a great web firewall. Like they do a great job around the DOS protection. They acquired another great company called Area 81, I believe, or Area 1 to protect your emails. They tend to release a lot of things that go hand in hand with their general offer of protection, but they're not going deep enough into that matter. So we had the same situation with bot protection, and we went with a very specific tool that protects us from the bot because we saw that that Cloudflare didn't fulfill what we wanted them to do. Same as Jscrambler. Again, like very specific, like two very specific requirements. First, understand who is accessing payment forms on your payment page, and B, the need to audit the changes, the need to track what you have on a payment page. That's what we wanted to achieve, and Cloudflare didn't offer such specific functionality. So again, we had to track it somewhere else. Like that's why we decided to go with Jscrambler.
And then, towards the end of our discussion, I would like to ask a more general question about the importance of client-side protection. How would you rate the importance of client-side protection and compliance?
I would say it is a must. And like, yes, you have these articles about like every month we read about massive issue that happens with big companies like Ticketmaster, already mentioned, Cisco, Microsoft, and so on and so forth. And in many cases, I would say in most of the cases, the reason why such things happen is because of the human factor. So you need to have a proper set of tools to minimize the situation, the chances of such situation happen, that someone forgot to do something, that someone from marketing team added some script and forgot to remove it in time. But if you have proper control, again, on the payment page, on that website, that anyway ensure that nothing bad will happen, that's great. So this is like, there's no question about importance. This is the must. And the job of the technical leader of the organization or security leader of the organization is to always keep educating themselves about it and keep the stack updated.
Yeah, and I actually researched these headlines, right, several days before the webinar, and all of them are recent. So it is quite scary to see how many breaches are happening every month. And the last one, by the way, our team commented on the Unicode attack, Unicode scheming attack. And you can easily Google it and find our comment. Pedro Fortuna, our CTO, provided his opinion. But yeah, it couldn't be, you couldn't have expressed it better. Compliance and client-side protection should be a must, and I think, yeah, that's a good thought to leave today's webinar with. And yeah, we're gonna wrap up here. To reiterate Andrei's points, if you're looking at PCI DSS compliance solutions now, make sure you choose the product that solves specifically for the PCI DSS requirements and ensures solid client-side protection so your customer data is secure. And before we conclude with the Q&A, we'll of course have the Q&A. I just want to briefly talk about the report that we just launched, the perils of third-party tags or scripts. So this is something you will have access to as an attendee today. So apart from the webinar recording, you will receive this report, and this report is relevant to our discussion today. It's based on a survey that we put out, and we had 327 qualified participants complete the survey, answering questions about their company's use of third-party scripts. And we, the roles responsible, we surveyed the people with roles responsible for websites. So that's IT, cybersecurity, product management, marketing. And we also asked people from both medium-sized and enterprise companies. So the numbers you see here are only part of what's in the report, but yeah, it is very interesting. Most people are, of course, aware that they have third-party scripts collecting sensitive data regularly, but only 13% are confident and actually know exactly what those scripts are collecting, which is a bit scary. And then, yeah, 68% believe a client-side protection and compliance solution should be deployed to protect user data, customer data. And then 61% says that a tool that prevents digital skimming is key to achieving PCI DSS compliance. So the last two numbers, I think, are positive signs. So anyway, we have some time for the Q&A now, and I'm just gonna check the questions tab and read some of your questions. I'm sure some of them are for me, some of them are for Andrei. So I have a question here. How long did it take for your organization to avail PCI DSS certification? Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if it's for Jscrambler or for Scentbird, but I can quickly reply about Jscrambler. I think it took us more than 6 months actually to become PCI DSS compliant, but it's a different process. We're not a merchant, and we are we are a participating organization, and we are on the board of advisors. But yeah, this is something that we did, and we look forward to recertification. And our CTO Pedro Fortuna has recently become an assessor. And when it comes to Scentbird, Andrei, I think.
So for us, this is something that we do on annual basis. We go through the self-certification again because we don't store the customer data, but we process enough of the transactions on a regular basis. So how quickly you can fill the questionnaire, we can do it in under 1 hour. How quickly you can ensure that you are doing everything correctly, that's a different question, because for like you can always click yes on all the questions, but you need to ensure that everything is doing properly. So I would say for us, it is important to. It took us some time to get to the point when we are saying yes, and it's the truth. And working with Jscrambler was one part of it. Like, as I said, 2 days to implement and configure, then some time to run in data collection mode before we enabled it truly. But also we have these scans that we run on a monthly basis to ensure that all, like, from front-end perspective, the information is being handled properly. So how long it took us to get this point? I think when we did the certification for the first time, we did the scan for the first time, it took us about 2-3 weeks to fix all the issues and to submit the results. And now we have to be, whenever there's a new PCI DSS list of requirements, it might vary how much time we need to spend on it. It could be nothing, or it could be a significant effort. So it depends on what you have right now.
Thank you so much for your answer, Andrei. And then, we have another one from Benny, but I'm pretty sure that you already answered that question. He was asking about Cloudflare and whether you considered it for protecting payment pages. So I don't think you need to answer.
Yeah, that's
that.
the question that I referred before.
Yeah, you basically you already answered to that question. So I don't think we have any more questions, but I'm just gonna quickly check the chat. Yeah, I don't think there are any more questions. I think you covered everything very well. So I guess we can conclude this, and I want to thank everyone for attending today, and stay in touch, by subscribing to our newsletter, by following us on LinkedIn, by visiting the website. And you can learn more about Scentbird by going to scentbird.com directly and using, the contact information here in the slide. Thank you all again. We wish you success with your compliance journey. I hope it is as smooth as Scentbird's journey, and you will receive the recording and some relevant PCI DSS materials from us. So have a great rest of your day or your evening, wherever you are.
Thank you.
And thank you, Andrei, so much for participating.
Thanks for having me here today.
Thank you and goodbye.